Her name is Allison Carter. She is 29. She lives in Philadelphia, in a working-class neighborhood along the trolley line, in a ground-floor studio where the windows rattle whenever the car screeches past. Her mornings start with an electric kettle and notes in a budget spreadsheet: utilities, transit, groceries, careful numbers where she looks for calm. She is pregnant by a married man. She says that fact plainly, almost clinically, when a provider asks for medical history. Her days are 12-hour shifts, 2 on, 2 off, at a private clinic. Scrubs, gloves, a blood pressure cuff, floors washed in bright light. On the way home, 2 trolley stops, the corner coffee cart, a low entryway with a buzzer that sticks in the cold. She trusts routine and treats it like a barrier against chaos. Her childhood was short. Her parents divorced loudly, and she moved in with her aunt to a 2-bedroom on the southwest side, where newspapers always lay on the kitchen table and the air smelled faintly of jam. She started working early, handing out flyers outside a supermarket, stocking shelves in the evening, a summer in a shaved ice stand by the river. Her aunt said, "The main thing is your own place and self-respect," and it became a rule rather than a slogan. She did not dream of wild turns. Her idea of a future was a 1-bedroom apartment, even with a view of a parking lot, so the keys would ring in her palm and no one would come in without buzzing first. Since then, she has kept lists, purchases, shifts, the courses she would sign up for someday. Lists return control when everything else wobbles. She met Jason Miller in the clinic lobby. He had brought his mother for an appointment, a neat woman in a knit hat, scarf, a faint drugstore perfume. Jason sat on the edge of a blue couch watching the digital queue, then stood and asked, "Excuse me, where do I get the shoe covers?" She pointed to the rack, heard a practiced "thanks," and that was all. 2 days later, he lingered at the front desk. "I'm Jason. If you ever need help with repairs, here's my card." The card was simple: Miller Remodels across the top and a local number. He'd written on it in pen, "My mom liked how you spoke to her." It felt like a note in the margin, human, not just sales. The first small gesture came in winter. Her studio had a drafty wall. The old radiator did little, and she mentioned it in passing. Ground floors run cold. He came over in the evening, brought a space heater, assembled the handle, and made no jokes. "Keep it on low at night and you won't wake up with a headache," he said, checked the plug, left the receipt on the table. Later, her faucet. It dripped. He swapped a washer, slid under the sink, crawled out, dried his hands on a towel, and offered a brief businesslike smile. For the first aid kit, he bought gauze, antiseptic, a thermometer, just in case, and set the bag by the fridge. Sometimes he waited at the trolley stop after her late shift. "Hop in, I'll drive you." And she did, because after 10 the cars run thin and the courtyards feel emptier. Their talk stayed ordinary: traffic, weather, his mother, lumber prices, a story about one of his crew's kids. She saw a man who could actually fix things and did not drag the spotlight to himself. It calmed her. The warning bell rang softly. He asked, "Don't call after 9, okay? The kids are sleeping and I get up early." His phone started going out of range more in the evenings. Sometimes he went quiet on weekends. Meetings, he texted in brief, and the thread would be gone the next day. She explained it in his favor: his own company, busy season, staffing issues. In her spreadsheet she added a new line: phone, and a separate tab: furniture. They were talking about a hallway shelf. He'd promised to help. Small oddities slid under the rug like crumbs, annoying but livable. She left them alone because she was afraid of scaring off normal. Pregnancy began with silence in the bathroom and 2 lines blurring in the steam from her breath. Barefoot on the mat, shoulder against the washer, she counted seconds. She sat on the edge of the tub, took out her phone, then didn't message him. I'll wait for the ultrasound. At 7 weeks, in the women's clinic, the provider with a neat bun greeted her with, "It's early, but there's a heartbeat. Want to start prenatal care?" She nodded. The provider listed labs, asked, "Is this a wanted pregnancy?" She answered, "Yes." After the scan, she stepped outside into air that smelled of wet snow and wrote to him simply, "I'm pregnant." His reply came 90 minutes later. "We'll sort this out. I'm with you." She read it and checked her breathing again. He came by in the evening. "I'll deal with the paperwork," he said. "We need time." His voice carried no panic, more like a plan. That, for a moment, calmed her too. On the third day, a woman called. "This is Megan," she said evenly. "Please leave our family alone. Jason has 2 children. He's home. We will handle this." Then a short inhale and a dry, "Do you understand me?" A couple of hours later, a message arrived from Megan's sister on social media. Screenshots of family photos, a cake with a big 10 on it for an anniversary, a July picnic, the caption, "Our Dad." She sat on the edge of the chair and propped her forehead on her hand. She could not reach Jason. He answered late. "I'll handle it. Don't panic. I need time." She read that time as a trap. She opened her budget and created another tab, Correspondence. She saved screenshots of calls, dates, amounts, promises. That evening, she turned off the music and went to bed without streaming anything. Support came human-sized. Iris, a co-worker from the procedure room, said during a smoke break, "Put everything in writing, everything, and avoid calls. Keep it in text." Dana, the neighbor on the other side of her wall, brought over a container of chili. "I'll go with you to any appointments. Text if you just need someone to sit in line." They spoke in short sentences like nurses who live by checklists. She made an appointment at a family counseling center. The psychologist with a soft voice set terms right away. "Boundaries aren't war. They're rules of access. You need a safety plan, who you text, who comes to appointments, what you do if the wrong person shows up." She nodded. With an attorney, she laid out the steps. Documented correspondence, collecting evidence of paternity, timing, transfers only with a memo line, promises only by email or text. If he says, "In the process of divorcing," ask him to prove it. Copy of a filed petition or a court docket. "What about threats?" she asked. "Screenshot, don't engage," the attorney said. The tiny mechanisms of daily life kept turning. He promised to put down a deposit for a 1-bedroom by the end of the week. A realtor sent a reservation agreement. She printed it and slid it into a folder next to her medical papers. She wrote him, "Please transfer by Thursday. The landlord's pushing." He replied, "Bank is flagging the transfer. Monday for sure." Monday, nothing. Wednesday, the realtor called. They lifted the hold. The owner found a family ready to leave a deposit. She sat on the edge of her bed, looked at the shopping list. Microwave on sale, baby blanket, pillow covers. She texted him, "Reservation was canceled." He answered, "I would have wired it, but the bank's compliance pulled it. Happens to everyone right now. Don't spend anything yet." The phrase, "don't spend," cut as cleanly as a blade across plastic. She screenshotted the thread and saved it in the same folder. His transfers started arriving late. Where he used to drop off groceries and go, now he said, "I promised, give me 2 days." She didn't raise her voice. She just stopped inviting him inside. Meetings moved to the curb or the bench by the trolley stop. It felt like undocking had begun. The parking lot scene happened on a Saturday after lunch. They agreed to meet at the mall, top deck, where wind swirls store flyers. She came early and stood by a concrete column. He pulled in, cut the engine, got out, scanned. "Let's talk at a cafe," he said. "Talk here," she answered. He smirked. "Shy?" Just then, another car slowed beside them, and Megan stepped out. She walked straight, without hesitation. "Okay," she said. "We'll talk. Jason, stay." He took a half step back. Cars beeped. Someone heaved a case of water into a trunk. Megan spoke quietly. "If you expect access to our family's budget, no. If you expect Jason's time, no. If you have needs, address them legally." She held Allison's gaze. Allison stood still and thought about what moved inside her and about living with it. Jason said nothing. He did not choose. "Say something," Allison said. I need to weigh everything," he answered, selecting words like bricks. She nodded. "All right, then I'm going official. From here on, only in writing. No personal calls. Meetings through a mediator." She said it calmly, without threat, like a ruling. Megan gave a short nod, the nod of someone recording a fact. He lowered his eyes. "I'm not an enemy," Allison said, "but I'm going to have order." She turned and walked toward the stairs. Her steps rang in the airy concrete, and in that ringing there was relief. After the parking deck, she finished what she'd planned with the attorney. She sent a formal letter describing the situation and attached copies of messages and receipts for transfers marked child support. She included dates and times everywhere. Through the clinic's resource navigator, she requested instructions for establishing paternity, clarified which samples would be needed, and when to file so as not to stall. In her phone, she made a folder. Jason, Archive. She changed the lock at the studio, not because anyone had threatened her, but because it was the safer story to tell herself. The psychologist helped her lay out the week, shifts, appointments, off days, 1 hour of quiet without screens. Dana did the lines. "I'll grab the number, you sit." Iris printed brochures from HR, benefits, leave, payment schedules. She didn't cry in hallways, she filled out fields. The pregnancy moved forward. At 2 a.m, she wrote in a notebook, "Flutter, left. Heartburn after coffee." On shift, she paused 1 minute longer at the bedside table, inhaled, kept going. In April, she bought a tiny onesie on clearance at the big box store near the river, put it on the highest shelf, and shut the door. In May, she opened an account at another bank to separate her money from all the holds. She got used to not hearing from Jason. When he did reach out, she answered, "Please write." He sometimes sent long evening messages, all starting the same. "I was thinking. I need time." She wrote back briefly, "I'm waiting for an official response to the letter. Mediator's info is above." He did not argue. Megan wrote her a few more times, no emotion, just logistics. "Please provide a mailing address for service." Allison replied the same way. It was a language that protected her. Labor started in early June at night. The trolley had stopped running. The block was quiet. She reached for her bag with ID, prenatal records, a light robe. Dana called a rideshare and rode with her. In triage, the nurse asked, "Contraction since when?" "Since midnight," Allison said. By 6 a.m, she heard her daughter cry for the first time and felt other people's voices fade. They named her Lila. On day 2, a stuffed rabbit arrived with a delivery slip and a short card. "Congratulations, Jason." She set the rabbit near the blanket and did not reply. A week later, a notice arrived from family court. Child support ordered, a plan for contact laid out. The mediator sent a schedule, visits every 2 weeks, in a neutral room, no personal messaging. At the first session, Jason showed up with a folder. "I brought documents," he said. She nodded. "Good. Please give them to the attorney." They spoke in a room where the walls had green arrows, and that helped too. After discharge, she moved to a 1-bedroom closer to the clinic, a walk-up but first floor, a window onto a courtyard where dogs circle in the evening. The landlord was a man in his 50s, no surprises, a 1-year lease, 2 months deposit, everything spelled out. In her new place, she hung a cork board, shifts, vaccinations, pediatric visits, mediator sessions, a packing list for the stroller. On the sill, she stacked books for a surgical tech certification course and read in the quiet while Lila slept. For transit, she set up a monthly pass. In the spreadsheet, she added diapers, formula. She still guarded every dollar, but the austerity had gained a light kind of relief, the ability to do exactly as planned. Iris sometimes stopped by after work. "I'll sit for 20 minutes. Go shower." Dana brought soup and said, "We're here." Their help had no heroics, only the steadiness of normal. Jason saw his daughter rarely on schedule, with the mediator present. He brought picture books, sometimes sat quiet, watching small fingers. "How are you?" he asked carefully. "Busy," Allison said. They covered practical things, tests, shots, clothing sizes. Once he asked, "Can we skip the mediator?" She answered, "No, this is safer for everyone." Her voice held no vengeance, only order. He understood. In writing, they no longer argued, they exchanged documents. Over the summer, his company had trouble. By rumor, clients paid late, crews drifted. Allison knew it only from talk at the trolley stop. It no longer concerned her. She kept her pace: work, home, class, clinic. She enrolled in the course without second-guessing, 2 nights a week. In the evening, she left Lila with Dana. "Back at 10, she said, then hustled to the community college, where the room smelled of plastic and alcohol swabs. At the clinic, her supervisor looked at the schedule and asked, "Can you handle this?" She answered, "I can. I've got it mapped out." She posted that map in 2 places, on the fridge and in her phone, like a net she threw around herself. In October, she allowed herself one small luxury, a drip coffee maker that hums in the morning. In her budget, she created a new column, education, and for the first time in months did not feel panic at the numbers. At the end of the month, she sent her attorney a short report. Payments arriving, schedule followed, no violations. The attorney wrote back, "Keep it that way." At the counseling center, the psychologist closed her case and said, "You built a stable contour. You can come back any time." She nodded. It was not happy. It was steady. Her final stance sounds simple, and she repeats it when people ask how she is. Independent life, she says. There's no flourish in it. There's a new routine, a 1-bedroom near the clinic, a stroller by the door, a shift calendar, classes, a shopping list for the week. There's a support web, a neighbor, a co-worker, 2 numbers pinned at the top of her phone, her attorney and the mediator. There are rules of contact that make the air cleaner. There's Lila, already attached to a gray rabbit, and used to falling asleep to the far hiss of the trolley. Her story plays like an episode without cliffhangers or swelling music, just cold in a poorly insulated studio and a space heater set to low. Just one woman telling another in a parking deck, "Handle it through the law." Just a coworker sliding a paper across a desk, "Write it down." And a neighbor passing over a container of chili, "I'm here." Out of this, safety is assembled. At the end, a few short practical lessons remain, the ones she believes now because she tested them herself. It is better to verify a partner's marital status with documents, not with the phrase, "in the process." It is better not to ignore warning signs, ask for explanations in writing, and save them. It is better to fix agreements in messages and on transfer memos. It is better to go to a therapist and an attorney early to define boundaries and plan steps. It is better to build a quiet support net, neighbors, co-workers, people who do not pry, but will stand next to you in a line. It does not make life easy, but it makes it manageable. And for her, that is what self-respect looks like.